Hey everybody, welcome back to the Movie Soapbox. It's been a long time since I've made a video, but I just saw a wonderful film over the weekend, which I really wanted to share with you, called Hidden Figures. So set in the early 1960s, during the US-Russian space race, Hidden Figures tells the story of these three remarkable African-American women whose contributions to math, computing, and engineering really helped us to win that race and put a man into space for the first time. If I had to describe what this film was, it felt like a combination between The Help, The Right Stuff, and that Miracle on Ice movie that they made a while back. The Help in that it's set in the 1960s where there's a bunch of those ridiculous separate but equal rules where black people had to sit in the back of the bus and you couldn't go to the regular library, you had to go to the cheap one, across town that didn't really have updated books. And one of the things that really struck me was that even with these amazing achievements that these ladies were able to achieve, they did it despite overwhelming odds. They did it during a time where NASA was like, oh my gosh, we have these ridiculous problems we have to solve. We have to find a whole new way of thinking. What are we going to do? Oh, there's some amazing people who can figure this out for us? Oh, and they're women. And they're black? Is there anyone else who can solve this problem for us? It was insane. I was thinking at one point that a better title for this movie than Hidden Figures would have been How to Succeed by Getting Out of Your Own Way. I also said this movie reminded me of the film The Right Stuff from like the early 1980s. They did a great job of recapturing that spectacle of those early space launches. This is pre-Neil Armstrong and getting a man onto the moon. This is a big deal, and at the same time, Russia had already put a satellite into space. And, everything from our cell phones to GPS to all the different technology that we have right now, a lot of that's due to the satellites that we have. And there were none. Well, I'm sorry, there was one, and it was Sputnik, and it was the Russians, it wasn't ours. And this one cop at one point says, man, these Russians are probably looking down on us right now, because they were terrified of what could actually happen if the United States wasn't able to achieve this. Okay, now lastly, I said this movie reminded me of The Miracle on Ice, and for those of you who don't remember, The Miracle on Ice was during the 1980 Olympics, the Winter Olympics, and the Russian hockey team had just been dominating that event for years and years and years. The American team had absolutely no chance whatsoever to win, but they picked this controversial coach who put together this scruffy ragtag group of nobodies, and David and Goliath style, they actually ended up winning the Olympic gold for hockey, beating the Russians. And of course, just like this movie Hidden Figures, we are in competition against the Russians. And and when you watch The Miracle on Ice, Disney made a movie about it. ESPN's got an awesome documentary about it. I defy you to watch that and not get the feels. If you don't tear up and start chanting USA, USA, I don't know what's wrong with you. But there are so many times you are going to be, listening to someone, get on their soapbox and make a big speech, or some amazing accomplishment will happen, and there will be people in the theater, clapping, because it was such a big thing, and it might be some kind of like, oh, this is like schmaltzy Hollywood kind of stuff, and then you pause for a minute, and you're like, oh, just like The Miracle on Ice, this really happened, and that actually brings me to something else that everyone has been saying. How come we haven't heard about this story until now? I could probably guess. I think we could all guess it's because the American school system that we have is flawed, and they only teach limited amount of things about the accomplishments of African Americans. But this is another reason why this film is so important for people to see. Now, before I go too far, let's talk about the actors in this film. Taraji P. Henson, she was just fantastic. She's the one who figures out the math. Octavia Spencer is the person who actually figured out the computing. Once again, this is 1960. NASA got their first IBM computer. An IBM computer. When they say computer in this film, they're talking about the ladies who are crunching the numbers to make sure the trajectories and all that kind of stuff are accurate. They, halfway through the movie, they get what we know nowadays as a computer, and no one knows how to work the damn thing. It's not until Octavia Spencer's character figures it out and makes herself valuable again to NASA and the space program. And then Janelle Monáe, who I hear is fantastic in the movie Moonlight. She's definitely someone who we're going to be seeing a lot more of. She's wonderful in this film. She's the one who's the engineer. And while this story does kind of end after the initial launch where they get them first man into space, they do recap things nicely at the end and say what people went on to accomplish. So you see that it is a continual level of success that these ladies were able to achieve. President Obama did honor these ladies at the White House, which I think was fantastic. They finally got credit for a job well done and the respect and acknowledgement that they so richly deserve. It's a great story, really good acting, and it is one that's going to keep you interested for the full duration of the film. We owe them a great debt of gratitude. I mean, when you see this film and you see the what was on the line at that time, it's a big deal, and this was not going to be achieved without them. Lord knows they tried, and they failed, and they got these ladies to come in and do the job that no man, no other person, despite being a black woman, would have been able to do, and they just crushed it. So go see the film. Go support this thing. Yeah, I know I'm on my soapbox, and this thing's called the Movie Soapbox, but it's a damn important film, that's for sure. So I hope you go see it. It's a good time. You'll have a good time. Fun for all ages. And welcome to the Movie Soapbox.